Welcome to the video. So if you're watching this, you may have previously seen or otherwise look at the Java version. So that comes with a full set of instructions of how to go about creating it. And so this is a successor to that version, which adds in a few additional features. So basically the idea for this RPG text game is that you choose a name for your character, and then you're able to traverse a map by typing in words, and then once you reach a point on the map where the enemies are, you'll be able to have an encounter. And so once all of the encounters are complete, you've essentially won the game, but you can restart. So initially, just entering a name. So we've called ourselves Peter, and so you can see here it's presented the map for the user. So the map basically consists of these hashes around the outside that are a barrier to prevent the player from going there. The player is presented as this @ symbol, and then there's a number of different enemies that are spawned in as encounters on the map. So the enemies that appear here, T stands for troll, W stands for wolf, and O stands for orc. And so each of these different encounters will have a unique name for that enemy in the encounter, and we will have to defeat them one at a time. So if we just go first of all up, you can see that the @ symbol has moved up and then left, and so now an encounter has begun. So you can see that it's telling us our initial stats, so telling us that we have full HP essentially, and then the enemy has full HP as well, and there's also mana, so we need mana to be able to use our abilities. So the enemies have a name, so in this case the enemy type is wolf, and their specific unique name is Ironjaw. So there's 3 different enemy names for each type that are associated. And so you can see here it's given us options for what we want to choose as an attack. And so each of them have a cost, and each of them have a crit chance and the amount that would be applied if it does crit, and then the base damage range, so the minimum and maximum base damage. So you would calculate first how much the base amount of damage is, and then it checks if there's a crit. If there is a crit, it will apply the multiplier, and of course, when you're actually using the ability at all, it will use the cost of the mana. And so if you don't have enough mana, it won't show you that option, so it only lets you use spells that you have enough mana to cast. And if you do run out of mana, you will lose basically instantly. So if we just use, for example, the lightning bolt with 2, so you can see here it's told us what the result of the battle was. So my lightning bolt attack hit Ironjaw for 10 damage, and then the wolf hit me with vicious bite, and it hit me for 10 damage also, and their attack was a crit. So they had a crit multiplier on it. And so now we just repeat this, so if we just use a different attack, we say use Tsunami. So Tsunami has a very wild range of numbers, so it can be between 0 to 40. You can see we actually got a really high value, but sadly it didn't crit. But at the cost of sort of having such a high damage range with high chance to be able to do a lot of damage, it's very expensive. So we've spent 20 mana to be able to cast that. But at the same time, the wolf used Howl, and so they only dealt 6 damage, which they also crit with. So the wolf is actually getting very lucky in terms of their crits, but they're not dealing very much damage to us overall. So you can see we have them nearly at half health now, and our health is still mostly full. So if we just continue to attack, we'll just use a fireball this time. And so our fireball did crit, and so it did 50 damage. So you can see that we, with a fireball, would multiply by 2.5 if it's a crit. So it's a 1 in 4 chance of that happening. Alright, so any attack should now finish them off. So we'll just use a magic missile to finish the final blow. So you can see that we've had, after the battle, our final attack hit the wolf for 3 damage, and we overkilled for 6, and then we defeated the Iron Jaw. So at the end of every encounter, you're restored for some amount of health and mana, and you can see that we went back to full for both. Alright, so let's continue on to the next encounter. And so now we have a troll. So we have Vol'jin as a troll enemy. So now if we just spam lightning bolt, we'll just quickly finish them off. So you can see some of the attacks that Vol'jin is using. They're a troll, so they're using different things. They're using spear throw, they're using voodoo, another spear throw, a voodoo, voodoo, and a spear throw again, and then we've defeated them. So we overkilled them by quite a lot that time. And so we're back to full health again. So we didn't actually take very much damage that time during that encounter. So now we just need to continue on and clear all of the rest of the encounters. So if we just go down, down, left, left, and we'll just spam again. So this one was Jin Zak, and we have defeated them. Now if we go down and then right, so if I'll just show you what happens if I try to go left. It basically just says I can't move there, so because there's an obstacle blocking me. Now if I just go right, 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 right. So now we're an orc. So this orc is called Thrall, and so we need to wipe out this one. So if we just use our magic missile again, so you can see some of the attacks that they're using. So they've used swing, 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 a roar. We don't need that. And thwack. And so we've killed that orc. Now we just have one more orc. So up, 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 up. A lot of up. Alright, so now this orc is Garrosh, so we just need to defeat them. So they'll be using the same kinds of attacks as Thrall was using. And so you can see here, I actually made it terminate by saying I don't want to play again. So if we run this again, and we just choose our name, so what you can do is actually progress through maps. So the first map is this basic sort of just a box where you're inside of. And so you actually have that defined as a map file as part of the code here. So it's easy to actually add additional maps. So this basic one is one of the random ones that could appear. And then we have this sort of hourglass kind of shape where the space is more limited, and at some point you'll probably have to be going through the middle of the area. And then we have one last map where it's kind of 4 different regions in the outer parts of the area that you'll have to navigate. So it's reasonably easy to add. The thing for the maps is just that any of the dots are open zones, and just any other character counts as being a wall that's blocking you being able to progress there. It does let you use any character for each of them, but generally you should try and avoid sort of the letters, at least, that are representing the encounters, because obviously that would confuse people. Now in terms of like the assets that are loaded in, so we have that there's an asset data file. All of these ones are under the app data. So there's a player with the initial stats of the player, and after the initial stats for the initial max health and max mana, there's a list of abilities that are being loaded in, and so these are attack numbers. So the attack numbers, it has a list of attacks here, and so each of these attacks has a unique ID. So like attack 0 is the magic missile, attack 1 is the lightning bolt, and so on. So you can see that these are the player's attacks. Then we have 3 attacks that are associated with the orc. We have 3 attacks that are for the troll. I don't think we actually saw the stealthy slash. And then we have 3 attacks that are for the wolf. And so each of those are set by defining types of enemies. So we have these defined with saying enemy, and then we have the type name, and then we have what the character for the letter is that appears on the map for that enemy. We have a starting health and mana, and then we have whatever the abilities are. So they could have more abilities, but they essentially dictate what of these options are included. We also have then for each of the different types of enemies, we have enemy names. So these associate based on the type of enemy being an orc. So you have an orc and then the name is Thrall, it could be Draka or Garrosh. And so when it creates an orc, it will look up and find that there's these options available and randomly choose one. Or for troll, it would use these, or wolf for these. And anything else, if you did just create an enemy without one of these associations, it would just name it, for example, Stone Giant. If you didn't have special options for Stone Giant, it would just have only Stone Giant as the name. And then at the very bottom here, we have a list of map files. So you can list any of the maps here, and then when you start the game, it should randomly select one of those maps. And then when you decide to basically retry again, if you completely finish the game, it'll allow you to play on another new different map as well. Alright, but otherwise feel free to check out this project. The link is in the description, and there is also the Java version, and the Java version does come with step-by-step instructions for how to actually create it, and so I'll link that in the description as well. Thanks for watching.